Hi everyone, it's Grayson and this is Grayson Talks Everything. If you are new to the channel, welcome. This is Grayson Talks Everything. I hope you can stay. We have an amazing discussion. And if you are returning, welcome back. Again, hope you're subscribed and click that notification bell. Subscribe and like this video, and hit that notification bell, and share this video. I'm pretty sure I'm working very hard on it because I'm writing the notes right now, but I just wanted to send this special message because I am shooting this on my birthday. Yay, yay, yay. All the yays because I turned 15 today. But yeah. I just also wanted to say thank you to everyone that sent me these amazing birthday wishes. It was so fun to watch WandaVision because it came out on my birthday. The newest episode. So, and again, thank you for all the birthday wishes, and I'm so happy that a whole lot of you have been here to support me and this channel. So yeah, thank you for the birthday wishes. And also, if you want more updates on when videos are coming out or just what I'm doing, you could always follow my Instagram, and you could also find and look at some drawings I do, fan art. So yeah, that would be some of those will be right here as examples, and the link to my Instagram is always in the description. But if you wanted to know the tag right now, it is right here. Yeah. Okay, let me finish this notes and get this video on the road. Wow. This is really good television. This is like one of the best shows I'm seeing of 2021 so far. But before we get into the bigger discussion, I think we need to talk about the Pietro in the room, and by Pietro, I mean Evan Peters, because he returned as seemingly Fox's version of of Quicksilver from the Fox's X-Men movies, which kind of ties into the whole multiverse idea and what Kevin Feige said about WandaVision tying into Spider-Man 3 and Doctor Strange 2 in the Multiverse of Madness. And Spider-Man 3 is rumored to be a multiverse story as well. So it's all tying together, and we already know that a couple different versions of the Avengers will probably be coming into Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness as like a multiverse version of the Avengers. So that's all exciting, and it was also a really joy and like a real surprise to see Quicksilver, especially Evan Peters' version of Quicksilver return. It not on the big screen though, but on the silver screen. But how WandaVision is going, I don't think they can make that difference anymore because it has like almost a movie level budget, which is also great because they get to do like 9 hours of storytelling basically because there's like 30-minute episodes technically. But a part of me, ironically enough, doesn't think Evan Peters is actually the real Pietro from Fox's X-Men universe. Because, as you would see in the episode, how would I say this? So, in this episode, Vision was really, really pressuring Wanda. And he was, pressing Wanda on, what is this reality? What are you doing to the people of Westview, or technically Eastview? We'll get to that. But it still, Wanda was not having that, and she was on the verge of a mental breakdown, and they started to not trust each other throughout the episode. So I personally thought it was very, very convenient that Pietro came to their house right at the time where things were about to pop off. And personally, I think that he is an agent of someone. Probably not Hydra, but maybe Mephisto, who we've been talking about a lot. And that's also came to me to think that this agent is taking on the form of a multiverse version of Quicksilver to manipulate Wanda and to manipulate the fact that she is severely missing her brother. Which could also be really cool. That'd be a really cool villain. And it could also be this version of Quicksilver could also be the third person in that brooch we always keep seeing on Agnes. We'll get to Agnes later. She has a couple. We have a lot to talk about with Agnes, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, so I'm pretty sure this version of Pietro isn't even Pietro at all, but just an agent of Mephisto, or maybe even Hydra. Maybe Hydra, but it's probably not. I also think what's cool about this episode and what they're making clearer is that as Wanda's reality starts to unravel, we start to get a clear list of who Wanda can't control, at least not control fully. So now we know she can't control Tommy and Billy. Because remember in the beginning of the episode, she was trying to make them sleep with her hex magic. We'll get to hexes later as well. Sorry, I have a lot of notes, but we know we can't. We know she can't control Tommy and Billy with her hex magic because in the beginning she was trying to get them to sleep and they refused to. She can't fully control Vision anymore, and she can't fully control Agnes. What again? Agnes is definitely up to something, or she's definitely working with somebody, and she probably can't even, which we'll probably see in the next episode that comes out next Friday. She probably can't fully control this version of Pietro or whoever's controlling this Pietro's body. Again, like I said, I think he's an agent of Mephisto. We'll just have to see who he is, but I'm positive he's probably not gonna be Fox's version of Mephisto. Again, because he just came in too conveniently, like at the most convenient time that even Vision was like, "Did you do that?" And like Wanda was like, "No, I didn't." So maybe um Mephisto's trying to like push the relationship back together for as long as he can, so the children can age up, so he can take the children and like suck their power or something like that to become like the to walk the earth. That could also be like really interesting to see. But yeah, so now we know Wanda can't control any of them fully, and that also just shows how powerful Tommy and Billy are. I also really, really like the fact that in this, because we transitioned from 70s to 80s sitcoms, we see we open in on a nice house. And at first I thought they were going to do like Full House, because that would be like a cool reference to how Elizabeth Olsen, who plays Wanda Maximoff, is like a sister to the Olsen twins who are on Full House. But when you kind of get a closer glimpse at the house, on the inside technically, you realize that they aren't completely mimicking Full House, but they're mimicking Family Ties, because that is definitely the Family Ties house. So that was cool. And I also like when they were like Wanda and Vision were like holding the twins when they were still infants, because they eventually like age up like at an exponential rate. They age up fast. But when they were holding the twins and they were dancing and they were acting like, oh, this is like when we're on a date, but we could obviously tell that they're holding their favorite son. Like each of them are holding their favorite son, because Wanda has like Tommy, and Vision has Billy, and I'm pretty sure Vision likes Billy so much. I made this connection. Vision likes Billy so much because he'll eventually have the powers of Wanda, so he probably draws more to Billy. And since Wanda is missing Pietro so much, she's probably drawn to Tommy so much because in the comics, Tommy has the same powers as his uncle Pietro, and same with Wiccan, but he draws more of his powers from his mom Wanda. So that was cool. Yeah, I really just like that. But Wanda says that she doesn't have a favorite and that she loves them both equally, but we know that she has a favorite, and it's Tommy. So then, right after that whole sequence, we get this scene where Agnes comes into their house after, or like on her way to go to Jazzercise. I love that. That's actually really funny. But then she goes like, "Hey, I could help with the twins if you just let me hold them for a sec." And like Vision was just being a protective father. And then before she even came in, he had to like change his persona, because he's still wanting to go along with the facade. But he told her no, we could handle the children. And then like Agnes she breaks from this like sitcom reality, and then she just turns to Wanda and was like, "Hey, do you want me to like hold the babies?" And it was kind of like off, but in like a good way. It was like very like it had this good sense of dread. And it kind of made me wonder how she was talking, because one could say that she was like scared, like she was scared of Wanda and her power, and it was like, if I don't, and she feels like she has to obey what Wanda tells her, so she asks her directly in hopes that she doesn't get kicked out of Wanda's reality like Monica did. But or maybe this was like a subtle threat to Wanda, and it was like, I am willing to tear this entire reality down if you don't let me get a hold of the children. So that was nice. And again with the children aging up, and you could slowly see their powers start to emerge throughout this entire episode. I kind of like it because again, like they're not technically mutants, but they kind of are in the comics. And I like the fact that it's been mentioned multiple times in like X-Men movies and in the comics that mutants' powers tend to emerge when they are hitting puberty, and it's seen throughout the episode that while not puberty, they are definitely getting older time and time again throughout the episode. So I thought that was fantastic as well. So after all that, Agnes was willing to go back up and like try to retake the scene, but Wanda was like, "Oh no, just play with the children; they'll be fine." And then Vision pulled her aside and was asking her, "Do you know what's happening? This is off." And then Wanda was like, "Oh, don't worry about it. Nothing's really going on," which is really annoying to Vision, and it's only going to make him scratch that itch even more. And then we get to the sequence where they start to age up to like five, where the infant twins start to age up to 5-year-olds, and then there's that cute sequence. The kids were like really cute. They weren't amazing actors though. I'm sorry, but child actors usually aren't that great at acting, but that's okay because their main purpose was like being cute and being like little 5-year-olds. And then there was one big scene in there. It wasn't like huge, but it was like a really meaningful scene, and it kind of tied back to what I said a couple minutes ago. And Agnes told Wanda in like this metaphorical analogy type of way, and was like, "Kids, you can't control them no matter how hard you try." And again, that relates to how Wanda is like can't really control the children like she does with the rest of the town or with Vision before this episode. And it kind of reminded me of not Wanda's, but Agnes, because she's basically playing Agatha Harkness, as a lot of people have theorized. Agatha Harkness in the comics has a son named Nicholas Scratch, who they're like, he's like estranged to her, like they don't really get along in the comics. But guess what? Who was Agnes's pet rabbit named in episode 2? Senior Scratchy. So that could like, we're definitely going to see like Agnes's or Agatha Harkness's history in WandaVision in one of these episodes. So, and then after the opening credits, we cut to or not after the opening credits. We'll get to the opening credits actually right now. So this is like the biggest Family Ties nod because it's like the exact same like opening credits as the Family Ties one, where with like Wanda controlling the paintbrush and painting like the family photo. And like at the end credits, or at the end of the opening credits, sorry, you can see that the finished product, and it looks both very like heartwarming and very creepy how the family is looking at you, the painting. I'm surprised that how they framed it didn't come off as a hexagon, because that seems like something they would do, because that's what they did like for the past 3 episodes where they were doing the sitcom stuff. Like they were always like photos framed in like hexagonal forms, but that was kind of strange, but that was all great. And then my favorite picture, because we saw a lot of pictures shoved in between that, and we saw toddler Vision. That was cute. Like all the pictures of Vision, the Vision that he never really had a childhood, but it was nice to see that Wanda specifically made this for this world. I thought that was nice. So we saw like toddler Vision, and that was all cute and fun. And then we saw actually at the end of the opening sequence, we saw like a picture of Wanda with Billy and Tommy celebrating their birthday. And what was fun about this is that since they rapidly aged up to the age of 5, this picture depicts them having to celebrate all 5 birthdays at once. So I thought that was fantastic. And then there was a picture and video of them running and having a picnic in Westview as a family, and then Vision ends up pointing out at the end of the episode that they seem to be the only family with children, or just children at all, in Westview, and that Westview seems to be rapidly changing each day he wakes up. So I thought all of that was pretty great. So after that entirety of the sequence, we cut back to Monica Rambeau after she just got her test to see how she's doing after she got thrown out of Wanda's reality. And they came back as an iffy, basically, because they didn't see her on the scannings. And I'm pretty sure that that they're like the writing is so good on the show. It's so good. That they're subtly trying to like integrate Monica's origin story as to how she gets her powers and becomes Photon. So that's also really exciting. And I also am loving the new trio that is Darcy, Jimmy Woo, and Monica. We loved Darcy and Jimmy Woo last episode, and Monica is a welcome addition. She is so good in this episode with them. They're like a great dynamic trio. And then we cut to see, like acting director, Tyler Hayward. I'm pretty sure that's his name. And we already tell that Darcy, Jimmy, and Monica for a moment are not like the biggest fans of him. Like he is like doing the most of this episode, to be honest with you. And then he tries to point out that, we also see throughout this episode at the Sword base that the military presence has been amped up to an 11. Like there's so many military personnel everywhere. And then he tries to point out that Wanda has gone from the victim to the principal victimizer, which I thought that was all great. And then he was trying to like twist Wanda as like the main villain and as a bad guy and as a terrorist. And he and then sorry about that. But then Wanda, or like Jimmy, tried to say that Wanda is a complex person and that she was like being manipulated, and he was like, was he being, and then Tyler Hayward was like, was she being manipulated when she sided with Cap and when she like destroyed that hospital in Lagos? And he was like, and some people are saying that he will be the main bad guy, like he's actually like Mephisto in disguise. I don't really think that, but I do think he's like your basic like government villain, and like the government villain of the show. And he also stated that after all those stuff, like at the Battle of Germany in Civil War and at the destruction of Lagos in Civil War, that in the government's eyes, she has been labeled a terrorist. So I thought that was all interesting. So then we see Monica trying to stand up for Wanda in a sense, and it was like, even though she did kind of throw me out of her reality, she's not really that big of a threat as you think she is, because she has no political agenda and she's not really trying to hurt anybody, and she even quarantined her reality so it doesn't spread. But still the government and along with Sword still see her as a threat, and then Tyler Hayward feels obliged and has given the go-ahead to release top secret footage of Wanda breaking into Sword and stealing Vision's corpse. And so that's all well and good. And then you start to realize Tyler might be up to something nefarious, because I'm pretty sure, because he said that this happened like 9 days ago when she broke in. And so, and my thing is, he also says to the group that Vision said after he died he didn't want to be used for nefarious purposes or to be rebuilt or to be used for other technology, as it would be to disgrace and like just violating his death. So my thing is, he's trying to spin that on Wanda as she's violating his death. But I'm pretty sure Tyler Hayward is up to more nefarious stuff, as he is seen in the footage, or people are seeing in the footage, doctors working on his body. And they did say in the last episode that Sword has been prioritizing and building more weapons, as in artificial intelligence, which Vision is, and more technology like nanotech, which Vision is showing signs of also being equivalent of. So that all is for certain, and maybe Tyler Hayward was using this technology to further his own evil agenda, maybe working for Hydra. Again, Hydra is like such a part of this show, like in the background. It would be like weird if they just wasted that opportunity. But then, like, when they're asking when did this happen, he said this happened 9 days ago as of right now. And then you could see Monica look kind of stunned, and she was like, well, why didn't you tell me this when we were being briefed? And you can already tell that Tyler has his own like agenda. It has his own things in the plays. And so we cut back into Wanda's reality, and then we see Billy and Thomas hiding a stray dog that they found on the street, And then they try to convince her mom, or they try to convince their mom, Wanda, to let them keep it. And then Wanda was like, taking care of a living thing is a very like big responsibility. Also foreshadowing, or like kind of like a metaphor for how she feels about taking care of two now 5-year-old children. And then Vision comes in and he's still in his disguise. And Wanda was like, "Why are you still in your disguise? We're safe." And he was like, "I just have this feeling to keep this up just in case somebody pops in at any moment." And then just so just like that, Agnes pops in through the back door and was like, "Hey," and she has a doghouse, which is kind of ironic and funny, which I kind of feel like she even knew that they were getting a dog, which kind of correlates to my next theory in a couple minutes from now. Um, and she also has the brooch on in that scene, again, which could allude to other stuff. And then Vision pulls Wanda aside, or tries to they try to calm the kids down and tell them, "Hey, we don't think you should have a dog yet. You're not responsible enough. Maybe wait until you're 10." So what do Billy and Thomas do? They show their powers and give them a mysterious, like a mischievous look, and then age themselves up by 5 years. So now they're 10 now, and they age themselves up not just in age, but into better actors. But no shade to the little kids, but still they aged up into better actors, quite literally. So yeah, that was all fun and good. That was a good sequence. And then Wanda was seen to use her hex magic to make a dog collar into thin air while Agnes was still there but not really paying attention. And Vision was like, "Why are you doing that? That's like a huge blow to our cover." And Wanda was like, "I'm tired of being in the shadows." And she just wants to be out there, which could be alluding to more stuff to see in like the later episodes. So then we cut back to see our new favorite trio, Darcy, Monica, and Jimmy Woo. And so as they were outside the town, Darcy tells Monica and Jimmy that the twins have aged up to 10. And they were wondering, or like basically, Darcy was telling them that they aged up to 10 due to the hex around them. And I actually really loved how she connected and called it Wanda's powers and like the force field containing Wanda and the rest of Westview, or I guess in Eastview, the Hex place, because the Hex world, more or less, because in the comics Wanda's powers have often been dubbed Hex powers. And speaking of which, when it comes to Wanda and the Scarlet Witch, earlier in the episode, Director Hayward asked Jimmy Woo, did Wanda have any like silly nickname like the rest of the Avengers, and he was like, "No, not at the moment, but we all know that she's going to become, or fully become, the Scarlet Witch." Again, very, very exciting. So we cut back to there, and then Jimmy asks, "Have you identified who the miners are since they just showed up?" And he assumed that since everyone else has an ID, that the miners must have some sort of identification. And like Monica cuts in and was like, "No, like Wanda made these children out of thin air. They're definitely hers. And they are definitely real. Like everything else around her that she has rewrote into reality." So and I think I told you guys last week about this, but in the comics, Tommy and Billy, who eventually grow up to be Young Avengers called Wiccan and Speed, they have like souls. They are real people, but their souls are part of like the shards of the demon Mephisto. And so like Mephisto has been trying for a while, well, not a while, but like in his first appearance when he first learned about them, to get them back and reclaim his shards of his soul. So it got me thinking maybe Wanda inadvertently or unknowingly made a deal with Mephisto by creating children with actual souls. So that would be very interesting. And then also Monica was wondering if there was a way that she could get into the hex field without being under like mind control. And she was like, "I think I might know an aerospace engineer that could help me out with that." So I was thinking there are a couple aerospace engineers in the Marvel comics that are slowly but definitely going to make their way into the MCU, or some that are already in the MCU. And I was like, who could this aerospace engineer be? Because I heard that there's supposed to be a lot of surprises coming in the next few episodes of WandaVision. So I was thinking maybe it could be Hank Pym or any of the other other people in the Pym family. It could be this is like a wild shot, but it would be awesome if it turned out to be like Victor Von Doom, who eventually became Doctor Doom, like the Fantastic Four's most famous villain. It could also be, I've heard, it could also be Reed Richards, who I've heard from some sources that he's supposed to be showing up in one Disney Plus show or some Disney Plus shows. I'm not sure if it's WandaVision particularly, but it would be cool if that was Reed Richards. But then again, somebody mentioned Beast, and I wasn't sure, but I think he was like an aerospace engineer for some time in the comics. So that's all cool, and I'm really excited to see who Monica calls up. It could be a fake out, but with everything that we have seen in the past episodes of WandaVision, it probably isn't. So then we see this trio examining the photos and the IDs of Wanda's reality that she's created. And one thing that did bug me, out of everything they're trying to uncover in this mystery, I'm still surprised that they haven't, or at least we haven't seen them ask the question, who exactly is Agnes? Because they haven't found any notable ID of her that we've seen on the board compared to everyone else. They even found an ID for the mailman, as we could see if you look very closely, but there's no ID for Agnes. So I'm wondering what is going on there, and I'm like, are we still like a couple steps ahead of you? Like, it's impossible for you to not think about, why haven't they found an ID for Agnes yet? Like, that should be like another priority. Like, who is this woman? But I guess they already also assumed that Wanda created her out of thin air. But I'm like, but that also brings up the question. I get the children, but why would she bring Agnes out of thin air? It doesn't make sense. But so they're, what are they? They're looking at the photos, examining their reality, and then they go to the lab to check on the clothing Monica was wearing as Geraldine in Wanda's reality to see if they can get any new clues. And then Monica shoots the clothing with Jimmy's gun, and the clothing deflects the bullets. And Monica says that the all her clothes are like 87% Kevlar when she went in as Geraldine and when she went out as Monica. Excuse me. So that also got me thinking, maybe Wanda was inadvertently trying to protect her and protect everybody in the town, and that would also help Monica's case that Wanda's not really a terrorist, and that's why she made a quarantine of her reality. So after all that, we go back into the sitcom and we go back to seeing Vision's life as a computing agent at his job at the computer firm, which even updated to the times in the 80s, which is cool. And we see him updating or like setting up his new computer, which is cool. And like, there's also pretty funny gag like before everything starts to really unravel, where they were like, this computer can do everything with the internet now, could it even find me a wife? And then Vision was like, unknowingly knows that he knows like the future because he's been in there, and he was like, yeah, someday it probably will, or someday it will. So I thought that was a great gag. And then when he like starts to plug in everyone's computers, he gets an email, and the email is from Sword. And it comes via email, and all the workers in the office recite it in like this chorus form, and they didn't got me thinking, since the hex field is like putting out like radio waves, like TV waves, and since the people of Westview now have internet, does that beg the question, or does that give us the answer that they can now start to pick up the internet fields and internet waves being brought on by Sword? And let me tell you, I'm thinking that in the next couple of episodes, after what Vision just saw, he might start emailing back. And then Norm walks up to him after all that happened. He was like, can you see? In like this weird creepy voice, which I thought was really well done by the actor. Can you see? This is all a joke. None of this is real. Why can't you tell? And then Vision starts to piece the puzzle pieces together, and it turns into this really weird scene where Vision touches Norm, and like he like unlocks his like memories and like unlocks his actual consciousness, and then and Norm tells him, hey, Wanda has me trapped here, and I don't want to be here. My family needs me. My family's in trouble. My father's sick, and I need to contact my sister. Make Wanda stop this. She has me under control, and she has everyone else under control. And it was like, make her stop. And then Vision like locked his consciousness away again for his safety, and like just so he can like really just contemplate what he has to do, because there's also amazing face acting from Paul Bettany, and you can pan in and see him, and you rip, and then it's amazing how just his face can like give you that emotion. It was like, oh no, I think I know what I have to do, and it sets up Vision versus Wanda really well, and they even start a fight in the end of this episode, but I don't think that's the end of their conflict. So we're back at Wanda's home, and Billy is teaching Sparky tricks as Tommy and Wanda look on. And when the twins want to show Vision, their father, the tricks they're showing them, and Wanda's like, hey, no, you can't show him right now, he's at work. And they're like, and it frames to them, and in this creepily way, it's like, it's Saturday, why is he at work on a Saturday? And they start really pressuring Wanda to like make up a good answer. And it kind of again brings to the fact that Wanda's not fully controlling them because they're not going along with what she's telling them. And especially Tommy. Tommy's really pushing hard and like just pressuring Wanda a lot in this episode, which I think is very interesting. So she then tells Tommy and Billy that Vision just needed a distraction because of the two of them were on the same page, which also gives us an answer like, oh, so she really is kind of sort of controlling Wanda, or controlling Vision. Wanda's controlling Vision because she made him go to work. So that's interesting. But Wanda assures them that family is forever and that they'll be back on the same page after they got a little nervous. So Tommy then asks Wanda if she has a brother, and she says that she does, but he's far away, and that makes her sad, which again is very interesting and alludes to her brother coming in the end of the episode. So after that little conversation, Sparky goes out the front door scared because he like heard or saw something. We later know that he heard something. So Wanda goes out the door and opens it, and Sparky just runs out, and the boys run after Sparky. And we learned that Monica is piloting an 80s drone over Westview, and we later learned that in some close-up and some screen grabs that it's actually a Stark drone. So I thought that was a great add-on. So, and they spot Wanda's home, and Wanda is framing the drone out of the show. So that was pretty cool. And then we see in like the little like screen grabs and like some of the screenshots that the drone is taking that her eyes glow red out of all the blue silhouettes everywhere. So I thought that was a cool touch as well. And so Monica calls Wanda through the drone, and Wanda's eyes again glow red, and Hayward tells the other to take the shot, even though Monica isn't aware of the drone is armed. So I was like, Hayward, such a bad guy. We knew he was up to no good. So yeah, and that all happens, and then the signal from the drone cuts out, and a perimeter breach goes off, and we learn that when they're all leaving, we see in the background of a TV, it says, please stand by, because Wanda stopped and paused the program so she can finish some business. So then everyone goes out to the barrier, and then we see like in all the trailers, like it kind of like references that someone's coming out of the barrier, but then it was like a complete misdirect because then we learned out it's Wanda that's coming out of the barrier. So that was awesome, and carrying out the drone that she destroyed, which was an amazing scene. There was like some of the best like screenshots and like some of the best silhouettes were in the scene that we're about to see. So we see that she's carrying out the drone that she destroyed, and she throws the drone over at their feet and tells them that they should stay out of her home in a very Magneto way. And in a lot of the scene where the guns were like with the green like lasers were like pointed at her chest, and that entire scene, again, it was like amazing shots all around. Like whoever did like the directing of like photography did an amazing job in this. So I thought that was great. And she also said if they don't bother her, she won't bother them. But Hayward points out that she's taken an entire town hostage, and Monica says that Wanda is the one in control. And Monica tries to reason with Wanda and tells her, hey, at some level I'm trying to be an ally. And then Wanda was like, you're all beneath me. I have what I want. Just leave me alone. And it was a very Magneto way, and it was like father, like daughter. It was, again, like in the comics, Magneto is Wanda's father. But again, that was an amazing and fantastic scene. So I really like that. And then Wanda recognizes Monica and she summons a hex bolt. And Monica says that she didn't know the drone was armed. And Wanda brought someone she knew was a sword agent into her home. The agent points out that Wanda trusted her to deliver her babies and asks what she wants. And then again, Wanda tells Monica that she has all that she wants and no one will ever take it from her again, alluding to what happened in the past with Infinity War and in Endgame and in Civil War and Avengers Age of Ultron. So she controls the soldiers into aiming their guns at Hayward and goes back into Westview like a very Magneto way. It was, again, awesome. She's great in this episode. Paul Bettany is too. Phenomenal acting. They need it. They need the Emmy. So again, when she leaves, the soldiers lower their guns, freed from her mind control. Again, fantastic scene. One of the best scenes that we've seen in WandaVision so far. Only topped by that Quicksilver scene. And then we cut to a WandaVision commercial, and it was like a housewife that was using paper towels to cover up and like clean up a red drink that was spilled, kind of referencing the blood on Wanda's hands after like the incident that she caused at Lagos. She blew up half that building and killed many people inadvertently. But still, again, it represented the blood on her hands and the mess that she made, which was also the tagline for the Lagos brand paper towels in the ad. So I thought that was pretty good. So yeah, and it was like when you make a mess that you didn't mean to. So again, I really like that. Good representation of like her pain in Civil War. Again, it was fantastic. So then after the commercial, Wanda and the twins walk through the neighborhood looking for Sparky, and then they encounter Dennis the mailman and sees them and they ask have they seen Sparky, and he was like, "Oh, don't worry, your mother won't let him get far," as a kind of throwing shade to Wanda as she is controlling everyone in the town, so she probably won't let any of them get far. So they find Agnes, and apparently the house that Agnes is living in is the same house that Samantha, the main witch and Bewitched, lived in. The same house. This is the exact same house Samantha lived in the show Bewitched. So I thought that was a really nice touch, but a little out of place since it was 80s themed. So that could also insinuate that Agnes is, like we've been speculating, a witch just like Samantha. So again, it was a little out of place, but I really like the reference. And then we see Agnes again, and then we see a dead Sparky, and she's holding Sparky's dead body. And then she says that he died eating her flower bush leaves, which I thought was a little suspicious because I feel like Agnes knows more than she's letting on. So part of me feels like she intentionally killed Sparky to see if Wanda could reverse death and could like further her plans, or Mephisto's plans. We still don't know. And so Wanda tells the kids a life lesson, which is to not like reverse death or not to age up, to run away from their grief, which was a little hypocritical. But then again, it's Wanda, and it kind of insinuates what Wanda's doing, and it's trying to control the kids. And the twins ask Wanda to fix Sparky, and Agnes is surprised to learn that Wanda can do that. Kind of also, again, in a suspicious manner, trying to see if Wanda will do it for her needs. So, yeah. Wanda tells her sons that there are rules in life and that they can't rush aging or reverse death because some things are forever, like family. Again, insinuating that Wanda might pull Quicksilver from another universe as a scapegoat or a way to revive him. So that night, Wanda puts away Sparky's toys and she tells Vision that just came in, and you could tell the pain on his face if you zoom in. Like, he's just not having a great day. He's in a very dark place. And again, Vision, or like Paul Bettany, who's playing Visions, his face acting was spectacular throughout this entire episode. And you could see that his dream, or his supposed dream life with Wanda, has quickly turned into a nightmare, which could also be who Evan Peters is secretly playing, the villain Nightmare, who actually makes a lot of sense because WandaVision is supposed to tie into Doctor Strange 2 in the Multiverse of Madness, and it was been like rumored that Nightmare would be the main villain of that. movie. So that could be also a really cool like nod or like innuendo to things that are about to come. But she tells Vision again that the boys will be all right tomorrow, and then Wanda tells him that. Oh, I mean, Vision tells Wanda that that he talked to Norm free of Wanda's oversight, and that he was in pain, and that Vision says that Wanda can't control him like everyone else because he's like, and he says this like so calmly yet so strikingly, like you could tell that he's angry, but he's trying to be calm with Wanda to make her like stop. But then Wanda was like, "Can't I though? Like I control this. I don't control fully this world, but I can control like minor stuff." And she tries to roll the credits on him to start ending this episode, and he's like, "You're not gonna end the credits on me just yet before we have this conversation." So he ends the credits, and they start having this argument, and then and he was trying to like make Wanda or like try to give Wanda the benefit of the doubt, and it was like trying to say that Wanda only recently became aware that she's creating this sitcom reality, but Wanda insists that she doesn't know what Vision is talking about, and he tells her to stop lying, and then they float in the air, and Wanda says that it's all for them and Vision should let her handle it. He asks what's outside of Westview, and Wanda tells him that he doesn't want to know, and Vision says that she doesn't get to make that choice for him, which he is definitely right. She is like holding them there against his will, quite technically. And Wanda tells him that he's never talked to her like this way until now, and then Vision tells her that he can't remember his old life, like what he was about, and he doesn't know who he is, and he's scared. And you again, Paul Bettany's face acting again was amazing. You could tell the fear and sadness in his face. And Wanda tells him that all he needs to know is that he is her husband and the twins, and that he's the twins' father, and asks if that is enough. And Vision wonders why there are no children in Westview, speaking of the twins. And Wanda says that she didn't even know that how any of this started, and that she's not controlling the town. So that also leads me to believe that there is a principal villain behind this. Like she's only controlling the minimal things, while there's a big bad controlling her and controlling the rest of Westview to reach their goals. And then, as Vision tries to tell Wanda that what she's doing is wrong, the doorbell rings. And at first, Vision tries to suspect that Wanda's trying to get out of this by causing another distraction like she's been doing throughout the first couple of episodes. But she swears that she did not do it, and Vision doesn't believe her, trying to not, and he's like past believing any of the other variables. And then Wanda answers the door and stares in shock at who is there, because at first she did not know who it was. And then in the Sword base, the alarm goes off and Darcy checks the broadcast, and Vision asks who their visitor is, and Wanda explains that it is her brother Pietro. But you can see in her face throughout the entire time that she does not really know who that is, because obviously it does not look like Aaron Taylor Johnson's Pietro. And also, Evan Peters was not acting a lot like who he was in the X-Men movies as Pietro Maximoff as well. And you can also see that his hair is a little different. Instead of like usually in the other X-Men movies that he's been in, his hair was a lot more dark silvery. But in here, it's a lot more like Aaron Taylor Johnson's hair. So I think whoever is controlling Wanda, either it be Mephisto or Nightmare, they're obviously trying to manipulate her into doing things for them, and also trying to break Wanda and Vision up, or try to have them not trust each other, again, to fit their needs. So I think that's all interesting, and I'm very excited to see what happens next. It's very exciting. I'm just so excited for the ride. So that's my breakdown of WandaVision episode 5. What did you think? Share your thoughts down below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and also follow my Instagram to get the latest updates on when videos are coming out, and just admire some art. Yeah. Bye everyone. Hope you liked the review.
The cameras. Dead ass.